Hello and welcome back to MyJewelryBench.com. In today's video, this is going to be a short one. We're going to go over the quick service of a Disney Cinderella watch. This watch is a few years old, obviously, and it looks like it hasn't been serviced ever, but it's not relatively dirty. It just doesn't look like it's ever been worn, and it hasn't gotten a lot of wear on it. It's not running well, if at all, right now. It's pretty seized up, so we're going to go through and do a quick service and take a look at what the results are when we're done. So before I get started fixing this watch, I want to thank all of you guys for all your support. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to get notifications every time I upload a new video, hit that little notification bell down below. Okay, let's take a little bit of a look at this watch. This is made by Timex. These were watches made specifically for Disney, and they were primarily marketed at Disney World and Disneyland, and later in some of the Disney stores that were available at that time. Later watches were mostly quartz, not very good quartz at that. The quality of this watch, this was an inexpensive watch movement. These were made to be novelty things that you bought your kids when you went to one of the parks. They weren't made to be high-end watches. Surprisingly, they do hold up well if you take care of them, but most of them were made to be thrown away. First thing we need to do, like any other watch, is gently remove the hands off of this watch. The dial itself has to be removed now, and the dial is held in with 3 tabs and one metal piece of the dial that actually keeps it in place. But the 3 pins bend through the frame of the watch. So here you can see those little tabs, and we have to bend those out to remove the dial. Now, if you're not careful, you can break those tabs. It's very easy to do, so you're going to be very gentle with them. And sadly, these little tabs are not in the best place. You can see this tab is located right next to the escapement, and that could be problematic because you could actually damage the escape wheel if you're not careful. And the last tab is in a good place, so we can just kind of put some pressure on that and remove the dial once that tab is bent straight. So there's the dial. It is in very good shape, surprisingly. And the movement's very dirty. We're going to remove the hour wheel. Then I'm going to pull the cannon pinion off. I'll clean those separately. And I'm taking the option here. I'm doing this as a favor for somebody because I don't like really working on these. It's very expensive to work on a watch. And, these are low quality movements and cost prohibitive. So what I'm going to do with this, based on the budget they gave me, which was almost nothing, I'm going to soak this in a little bit of acetone and put it in the ultrasonic cleaner for about 20 minutes. It's an exposed mainspring, so I can dry it off with a hot air gun and dry it off after it comes out of the watch rinse. The customer also wants to leave as much possible as original or much of the original watch as we can, if possible, so I chose to buff out the watch crystal. Buffing out acrylic and plastic crystals is pretty easy and very common. If you get a little scratch in it, you can buff it out and almost always remove those scratches and marks, but sometimes they'll be deep enough where you have 1 or 2. I'm going to clean this up, throw it in the ultrasonic cleaner, and let the debris come off, and then we'll just give it a light polish. Once the movement comes out of the cleaner, I'm going to dry it with either a hair dryer or a hot air gun. I'm going to dry that out real well, and we're going to put some oil onto the mainspring. Now, because it's an exposed mainspring, I'm kind of giving a little extra oil just to give it an oomph. I didn't want to take it out, but it is very clean. I did check it under the microscope. And then, like any other watch, I'm going to go and oil all the other pivot points on the watch. Remember, there's no jewels in this watch. It is metal on metal. Again, these were not made to last forever. So we're just going to give this its oil on the pivots on the upper side, and now you can see the center wheel is actually very clean. If you noticed before, it was pretty dirty. And I'm just going to give that mainspring a turn, and you can see the watch just ticks right off. It wants to run well. So now don't forget to oil the escapement or the pallet forks, because those should be oiled also. It is metal on metal, and that'll allow it to work better. Getting ready to do the final assembly. We'll put the cannon pinion back on. I did check the watch for timing. It is running a little bit slow. I did adjust it a little bit more, and I'll just test it over the next couple of days. It's got a good heartbeat to it. Now, I did put the original dial washer on, and that didn't work well, so I put a new dial washer on after this. And I would recommend that you change the dial washers, whenever you do service on a watch. They're pretty cheap. So again, we have to be careful when we're putting the dial back on this watch. Remember, there's 3 tabs that hold it in place. And we just have to be careful about putting pressure on those plates because we don't want to bend or break those pins too far. I'm going to start with the one that's closest to the escape wheel, and I'm just going to gently push that in, and then I'll work my way around. I'll do the opposite side. That way I know the dial's held into place. And then we'll grab that last one. Okay, so there's the watch. It is running. It's running pretty well. It's time to put the hands on. Now, again, there's no date on this or no day feature, so it's not a complicated watch. It only has the time complication. So you can set the hour hand, put it anywhere you want. Make sure it's set into the hour wheel correctly. I apologize for the unfocusing of the watch, but once we get that done, then what I'll do is set the hour hand pointing to a specific number, 1 through 12, and then I'll put the minute hand on. So get that minute hand set there. And again, I'll use my hand tool. I'll just push that down on the cannon pinion. There is no second hand, so the watch is just going to run with the hour and minute. And then the next step is just make sure that the watch still sets properly. And it does. Again, guys, these watches are not the highest quality watches. That while they do work, and they do work relatively good, they were mostly, fun pieces for your kids. They weren't meant to be everyday watches. They aren't going to hold up to everyday wear for years and years and years, even if you clean them regularly. There's a lot of wear metal on metal, and the quality of the metalwork in these watches was basically made just to stamp out and sell at stores. Once we get it all set, there we go. There's our working watch. Cinderella looks pretty happy. The crystal's pretty polished. The case looks really good. I did buff out some of the scratches on the case, but that is a polished and plated case, so you have to be careful how much of that polishing that you can do on something like that. I hope you liked this video, guys. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Check out my website, www.myjewelrybench.com, and have a great day.